Good afternoon. It is August 11th, 2025. You're listening to a little of column A, little of column B, hosted by Will Alimonos and co-hosted by Zach Bishop. How are you doing today, buddy?
What is going on, Will? It is all happening. There are arguments about what fantasy football draft, what day is best to do it. I'm talking to friends and family about different preseason games. It's just so nice. You know, you got the small talk just right there. You're like, oh, you see the Pats game yesterday? You see that 100-yard kick return? Oh, yeah, no, I saw it. Or no, I didn't. I missed it. I saw the highlight later. Which is an easy thing to talk about. And there's just news. There's a lot of stuff about Shedeur Sanders and his game. I think it's the most I've ever heard talk about a fourth rounder, but I like it. You know, there's stuff to talk about. We're going to be doing the second week of previews, and it's here. It's happening.
I'm with you. I hear all the excitement. I'm just as excited as you. I can't get excited about preseason football. It's the biggest joke in comparison to what it actually is. It's 4 weeks of all-star games that don't mean nothing, that somehow the media still feels like they have to cover nonstop, as if we're not going to watch at the end of the 4 weeks when the real games start. But I understand the buzz, and there's plenty to talk about here, but I cannot stand any of the preseason. Maybe a little Patriot talk at the end, but is there anything you've taken away from preseason being like, this is awesome? I can't believe I saw this. Or there's nothing.
I just like watching it. I just like having football on and knowing that it's live.
I think I'd rather watch a game from last year. I'd rather watch the draft, which I also am not even a fan of. That
is crazy. That is ridiculous. How? That has zero football involved with it.
I don't think the preseason has much football in it either. It's a weird level. It's worse than summer league, where it doesn't work, and then it works for a couple of sets, or I don't know how many, 4 snaps, and then somebody else comes in, and the other team's doing the same thing sometimes. And that's a weird game. That's not a real game. It's a practice. It's a scrimmage.
To get your levels here. Okay, so football regular season, you're all the way in, cool. But preseason, absolutely out. Don't even talk to you about it. Cool, gotcha. All right. So now I'm wondering the in between, before NFL is going to start, college is going to start. I think you took a pretty big step forward last year in the college basketball department, and just wondering, should I bring up college football to you at all? Where is your level on that coming into this year?
I have no excitement for college football. I'll be there for the playoff, and I'm sure by week whatever. I know we got to start on this week 0 thing, which is the other dumb thing about it. But this year should be fun. I'm ready for college, right? I'm ready for college basketball a lot more. I've been looking ahead at some of these tankathon numbers for drafting next year, and hopefully the Celtics aren't in that situation. But I'll tell you what, if we are, I'm ready this year. I like a lot of players upcoming, but football is another one where, I don't know, it just seems like a worse product than the NFL actual season. So I'm not entirely sold on it, and I think I need more consistent schools over there. And it seems like a lot of people there's a lot of movement in college that I don't really like, and I know there's movement in the NFL, but it doesn't really add up to the same to get me super excited every year. What's the big storyline upcoming this year for college football? Is somebody returning? Is somebody entering? Is it somebody new or somebody from last year?
The Manning prodigy.
Oh,
He's
right.
supposed to be the main guy at Texas. The AP poll came out, and I believe Texas is number 1. Yes, Texas is number 1. And to kind of start things off, like you mentioned, there is the week 0, which is over in Ireland again, but kind of the main start is going to be Saturday, August 30th, and right at noon, number 1 Texas at number 3 Ohio State. So we're just starting just immediately with no messing around. So I think that is something to look into, if you're kind of looking for storylines. But it's college. It's similar to college basketball, where the transfer portal and NIL is kind of changing things very rapidly. But I will be watching. I'll be having fun. But it was more I wanted to kind of get your temperature.
Did we make any changes?
I annoyed you with my questions.
No. Did we make any changes to the NFL playoff this year? Or are we actually running back what we did last year to add a little bit of tradition?
I don't think we changed anything last year. I think 2 years ago when we went to the Super Wild Card weekend, I think that it's stayed the same since then. Okay, well
that has to help, right? It's not the 4 teams anymore. It's a little bit more than that, and I don't know if that's.
Oh, you mean the college?
Yeah,
the college is going to be the same as last year.
Okay, that's good.
The only thing that they might have altered it.
All right, what are we doing?
I think no. So it's still going to be, with bye weeks or not bye week, or the top teams get buys. But I think that they did have, what was it? It was that the conference champions, not only were they automatically in, but they automatically got the higher seeds, even if they weren't necessarily, ranked the better teams. I think they did away with that. So if you win your conference championship, just like college basketball, you're automatically going to be in. But if you went on some crazy run, something fluky happened, which is unusual because not really a tournament, just a championship game, you could still be ranked, down at the bottom, and you wouldn't necessarily just be in the top 4.
I do remember that change. It was a good change, but my point still remains of like, at some point, this has to be what we do every year. And I don't know. We're always changing. It's an improvement. So it's not the end of the world of it. All right. You ready for some NFL? I've delayed this long enough. It's time for the AFC West predictions. This is a spicy division. I think you can make an argument for a lot of teams in the NFC and the AFC West. I think you got to start with the Chiefs, who are projected for 11.5 wins. If you were to describe their last season, would you say it went exactly according to plan, or it was best case scenario with worst case scenario actually happening? Like last year was a fluke. Like I feel like they overachieved so much with how bad it actually was, and that's being read as like such a success this year. Are you getting like a similar projection on this team? Like what was last year? Did it matter?
Well, I mean, every season matters. I think that they had some fluky wins where it just seemed like there was a stretch where they block a field goal. Just you'd look over and go, wait, they pulled one out like crazy again. And so I think if this was a team out of nowhere, I think I'd be more on your side of fluke season. It's never going to work like that again. But this is a team that has recently won multiple Super Bowls, still have Patrick Mahomes in his prime, still have Andy Reid. So I think that because it's the Chiefs and they've had so much success, you can look at last year and go, yeah, some of those wins were fluky and, got blown out in the Super Bowl. So, terrible season. Any other team, that's an amazing season. Like there are teams that they'd be talking about this forever, even though, you didn't win the Super Bowl, but that's the way it works. But I think it's because of the Chiefs. The expectations are so high that losing in the Super Bowl is a disappointment for them.
The Chiefs were so close to winning a Super Bowl compared to every other team in the league. The only thing they weren't close to was winning the Super Bowl game. Like it's still an incredible achievement. I don't know why any other team would trade places for their last season is the other wild part of all this. And yet it's looked at as a down season for Kansas City. Now I only bring that up because I just think there's a lot of bad momentum for Kansas City now between Rashee Rice. I don't really love the running back situation. You're going to tell me the line is going to be all right. I'm not saying Mahomes is going to have another bad year, but last year was an average year, which is just a bad year for Mahomes. It's like a different standard. So I don't know if we're going to get used to that, but an average quarterback on this team, plus all of the mess I just kind of described of the other assets on the offense, are just not adding up to a very talented team here. Like on paper, I don't know how you could say this team is better than some of the other rosters in this division. Like I think Denver is way more talented. I think their defense is better. I think so they got better offensive players now at this point. I think this is the year where there's going to be a bit of a dip for Kansas City. And I say just a little dip because I don't think this is suddenly like they're going to be rebuilding or that they're not going to, make the playoffs. But I don't think they're going to win this division. I had them at 2, and I took the under on the 11.5. But I still think they'll go probably like 10-7. Like they're just going to be 1 win short of that. They might even get 11 wins, but I think they're going to be under the 11.5.
I have them at 1, and I'm going the over. I am not going to pick against Patrick Mahomes.
That seems smart.
Seems silly.
No.
It seems like, picking against them for sure, in the Super Bowl, did not work out. But it's one game. That's one game we saw throughout the rest of the year and previous years. Like his fourth quarter numbers are crazy. And I think that it's going to come down. You just mentioned, you think that the Broncos are going to be way better. They're here where it's just like the expectations. It's like Bo Nix makes a, sophomore, jump, and they could, like, both things could be true. That the Broncos could be better, the Chiefs could be worse, and the Chiefs are still ahead and still like better than them in the playoffs.
I think that's kind of how history has always played out. So I'm projecting that Denver is going to make that jump this year and actually be possibly a Super Bowl contender if they're going to win this division. But the thing is even if Kansas City doesn't win this division, I still think they will be a Super Bowl contender. I mean, talk to Josh Allen. Do you think he's like, I don't care what place he comes in the division. Like, if I got to go through that guy, it seems to be a problem. And it's a problem to the last second, which is something I don't think any of these other teams can really combat. But if I'm just making projections on paper of all this, I think Denver's just got a way superior team. I think he just needs to be average at quarterback at best for them. And Bo, he doesn't have to be fantastic. He just basically has to play mistake-free football, wait a couple years to get that Purdy contract, and then maybe that's kind of his situation. But, I mean, the defense is going to be good. And I don't see the offenses across this division really thriving. I mean, do you think Kansas City is going to be like an excellent offense? They might win games with Mahomes through scrappy play and him doing some miraculous plays, but I don't think it's a good offense.
You mentioned concern with Rashee Rice, but he got hurt last year, and for sure at some point this year he's going to be suspended. But I mean, he was really pouring it on when he was playing. So for sure, coming off an injury, but he's a young guy, and so maybe he doesn't come right away. But I expect him coming back. I even added that in the ads to the team. It's not officially a new ad, but him just being back healthy, even if he is suspended for a few games, I think that is going to be helpful. Having that sort of weapon.
There's still that overhanging cloud that I don't like. I mean, it's a problem to begin with, but I don't even want to get into the off the field thing, but it's coming at some point. I don't like that we don't really know. I mean, what if things are cooking like you just said, and then suddenly that kicks in? You think when we come back, we just pick off where we left off? Like, I've seen this team without him. It's not great. And the hardest part about
this it's not great. They were 15-2 and went to the Super Bowl.
I think even for their standard, they would tell you it's not great. I think it's more embarrassing that these other teams can't take advantage.
I don't know what your level of great is, but if you win that many games and you go to the Super Bowl, like you're getting nitpicky if you're going, well, yeah, I don't know. It's like, okay, maybe it wasn't as high powered as it was when Tyreek Hill was there, but still, as a team, like we have to. If we're saying that the Chiefs and Mahomes, nope, they're not good. Like that was pretty bad. Like, what are we going to say about any of these other teams? Because all of these teams last year did not win as many games as the Chiefs won last year.
There's not that many good football teams. Then that's what it is.
How is that possible?
Because the Kansas City Chiefs are a good football team, and they don't play that good of football. Like that's what you just said. And I'm saying
doesn't make any sense.
You don't think it's true, though? You don't agree with that? Like, you think that can't be true? Like, it has to be that they ended up in the Super Bowl. They must be a good football team, even though they didn't play good football at any point until they got there.
They were 15-2. They only lost 2 games the whole year.
The offense. All right, they were a defensive team last year then, all right? I guess I'm just more worried about the offense, and I don't see what's improved about this offense.
That's fair. That's a fair situation because, that's where football is very different from basketball. If you have 2 different teams within one team, or you can count special teams as well, but mainly offense and defense, where, a good defense can cover for a mediocre offense. But
I think that's what Denver's going to get, is kind of what happened to Kansas City last year, where it's going to be a lot of defensive wins, and the offense just needs to kind of just squeak by. Just don't screw it up, and maybe that'll be the other way where, he does some miraculous things like Mahomes does at the end of the games. I don't know. Maybe it'll be that, but I think that if I'm picking between these defenses, and Kansas City was technically like a better defensive team last year, I like the Denver defense more. So that's why I went with them at 1. Where'd you have them? How far down did you drop them before? Here I'm marching them at 1 here. Where'd you have them?
I have them at 2.
Okay, all right.
But just ahead of the Chargers, because I think I mentioned this last week, but you have to be careful with these rookies that play well. And then the next year, football, there's not that many games. So you get a little, banged up or anything. And it doesn't mean he's not going to be a good quarterback in the future, but this isn't always linear. Sometimes, it can be up and down. So I think there's an opportunity for him to take a jump forward, but it, might not be as smooth as people would like out there in Denver.
You know what'll make that easier? Because I still think that's going to happen. I don't think Bo's going to have a great year. Like, I don't really know who I would draft fantasy-wise on Kansas City or really Denver. I mean, maybe the defense for Denver, or maybe the defense for Kansas City too. I don't know. But the offense on both ways, I just don't really like. I think these are going to be defensive touchdowns and defensive field position that's just benefiting the quarterback both ways. So, like, Bo's going to get lucky with some good turnovers and some good field position, I imagine. And that's going to make it better. But if you put him on like another situation where he's starting at the 20 all the time, I don't think we're marching every drive out of there. I think we're having a lot more 4-and-outs and a lot more mistake potential. So I get all that. I guess I'm just super in on this Broncos defense. I think they drafted well, and I think there's going to be some noise from them. All right, so you had them at 2. The over under for me, I had 9.5 for Denver. Did you have the over or the under?
Under.
All right, well, I had the over. I kind of had to if I thought they were going to win the division.
Yeah. I think we're in the same spot there.
So at 1, I don't know if you did win projections. I wrote Denver roughly 12-5, and then Kansas City I had 10-7. So not much of a big drop. It does hit the under on 11.5 though at 10-7. But then I assume third you had the Chargers as well. They're 9.5 over under as well. That's tricky, because I think this team has improved, and I think Harbaugh is a good coach. But you look across this division, every coach of this division has a Super Bowl ring now. And some have multiple. Like this is a tough division of coaching wise, and I think Lad McConkey is going to be a fantasy stud. That's a guy I would draft, but there's nothing really exciting about this offense either. Like, I worry about the others not really having talent. I worry about this one just being too boring sometimes. Like, what's the explosive play that's going to happen for this Charger team?
It is a concern where it's like, oh yeah, well they got Justin Herbert. You know, he's good, right? And then you go look at it, it's like, well, is he good, or is he closer to average? And there's some problems, and I think we're getting deeper in where he's not just for sure. All right, no, this guy's gonna be awesome. So I think that Harbaugh is a good coach, but like you mentioned, all of these coaches have had success to the point of Super Bowl or multiple Super Bowl rings. It's just super impressive to all be in one division.
It can't be easy, and I feel bad putting the Chargers at 3. And I don't even hate the Raiders this season here. I have 6.5. I think they're going to be better than 6.5. The Raiders. I think Pete Carroll alone is going to kind of get you 7 wins. I think Geno plus Chip Kelly is good for a couple sneaky steals, or they just win games you didn't even think they were going to get there. But this is still an improved team. They're just not in the class of the other 3 teams yet. But I do think this Raider team is going to give every one of these other teams hell, and it's not going to be easy wins. Like, I don't think they're going to get blown out. Maybe you had that. Where'd you have over under on 6.5 for the Raiders?
I'm going over with the Raiders. Similar to what you said, I think that having someone like Pete Carroll, despite how old he is, it's just the past couple of years, coaching upheaval, brought in the interim guy, and couple of wins that leads to the next season, and then it clearly got this is not the right guy. You bring in Geno, who you are much higher on him than I am, but it's just like, okay, he can at least like go out there. He's a professional quarterback, so 6.5 just seems too low.
I mean, just compared to last year, though, you say whatever you want about Geno. Just remember what they put out there last year.
Exactly. Yeah, just having a professional quarterback out there. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's tough. All right, fantasy-wise, we didn't really cover much for all this with you here. Who you got on the Chargers and the Raiders?
Okay, so for the Chargers, I think that Lad McConkey at 28 is underrated. And for the Raiders, I think Ashton Genty at 11 is overrated. Wasn't too great in the preseason game. I'm not putting too much stock in that. It's just much more of, despite what I just said about Pete Carroll and Geno Smith, it's just, I just don't think the offense is really going to be there. Where if you are drafting him at 11, I mean, that means you're either getting him first round or it's early second. So like the guys around him, I just feel like you can get other guys that are going to be, or just have a proven track record. Where saw what he did at Boise, and if it's anything like Boise, and I'll be completely wrong on this, but I just think it's too risky at 11.
It is a little pricey. I don't think that's the best deal you could find for that position. That being said, if you want to go with the Pete Carroll track record of workload for the running back, and for what we're going to need out of Geno, Geno threw the ball way too much, I thought, in Seattle, which gave him some juice. But I think ideally he doesn't need to throw the ball that much, and he should have a pretty decent running game. So I don't know whether this is going to play out. They're going to be going against some of these other teams that all have, I think, superior defenses as well. The Raiders are it's a step in the right direction. It's not enough steps in one season. I do give them credit, though, for what, I mean, from last year to this year, this is at least a professional team. All right, anything else?
It was just so rough in the whole way the season went, where, you start the season, you're 2-2, you think, okay, we're, at least like in the mix, and then just off a cliff the rest of the way. Which is like, and you mentioned the quarterback situation of who do they have starting over there? In a real game, that's who they're going with. Like, okay.
All right, did we cover that well? We got the AFC.
Just the only other thing, I messed up and I did not pick a fantasy person for the Broncos. I just did the Chiefs double. I said that Patrick Mahomes at 62 was underrated at that spot. He's near like Baker Mayfield, where I just think with that offense, I think it's going to improve. I think, the reverse Super Bowl hangover of, hey, we are locked in, we want to make this happen. I think that 62, like, you're going to get good value out of that. On the flip side, I said Travis Kelce at 82 is overrated. We've been seeing the decline. I think he can still play football. I think he's close to retirement. I think it's going to be much more of he is a excellent blocker and just sometimes catches the ball, rather than historically when he was at his absolute peak was, basically just like a big receiver and was putting up, crazy points. So I would not want to take him at 82.
I don't trust any fantasy offense for Denver or Kansas City. I don't want any of them. I think I'd rather have Brock Bowers and Lad McConkey over all of them. I mean, maybe take the defense for Denver and maybe for Kansas City as well. But that's not great fantasy advice if I'm telling you defense and no offense. All right, moving on. NFC. The West is fun. I'm glad we're doing this division this week. I think we got to start with the most projected wins for the year and the easiest schedule projection of the year in the San Francisco 49ers. Now, to say things didn't go exactly according to plan last year is a huge understatement. I mean, I wrote down this year, it can't be worse than last year. Like, you just can't be more injured than you were last year. I don't think it's physically possible. And I know you lost a lot of guys. We've seen a lot of names go out, not so many come in. This is still a pretty good football team that is going to, again, have a pretty simple schedule, I think, going in. And I think they got a decent quarterback, a really good running back, and an offense and defense that can get creative and kind of knows a lot of these other teams ins and out as well. I looked across the other division here, and there are teams that got better, but I don't think they got better than this team. And I don't think this team is going to struggle as much as last year. And I don't know how much of last year is just pure injury or if this team really wasn't that good. What do you think?
I think they got injured.
Yeah.
I think they have a good coach. I think we've seen that Brock can be a serviceable quarterback. And I think there were just too many injuries that compounded upon themselves, and they just weren't able to dig themselves out of the hole.
Did you have them over under 10.5?
Over 10.5. I have them winning the division.
I did as well. I said 11-6. Fantasy wise, this is risky territory here. Like, I can't tell you it's going to go bad, but I can't promise you it's going to go well either. This is the Christian McCaffrey. You I believe are going to be keeping him potentially in a league here. I don't know if I'm signing up for all of that safely without a little accelerated heart rate. It's nerve-wracking of any potential of last year coming off of, was it 2 Achilles and a hamstring? It's just a lot. But are you trusting him this year?
Of course. You have to double down, and sometimes you have to triple down, and then you just got to quadruple down. So, yes, that is my fantasy nugget for the 49ers, that CMC at number 7 is underrated, and you can only go up from last year.
I think you have so much stock in it, you have to have that response. So that's fine.
Unfortunately, it's only podcast related for actual fantasy. So when the what's it called? Like, where you got to put your money where your mouth is. I was just taking a peek at my team, and I also have CeeDee Lamb. So I'm pretty sure CeeDee Lamb is going to be the one that gets keeper.
Oh, who's the tough guy now? Yeah, can't even take his own advice. Don't listen to him. It's all phony advice. He's telling everything to screw my draft up.
I don't think it's not phony advice. It's just, I think it's fair to say that I think that CeeDee Lamb is going to have a better year than Christian McCaffrey, and I also believe that Christian McCaffrey at 7 is underrated.
All right, Zach, there's other teams in this division. You want to talk about phony? I think one of the teams in this division is a real big phony. You want to take a guess at which one?
Cardinals.
Nope. I got the Cardinals at 2.
What?
Cardinals are going to have 10 wins this year.
Oh no. Will,
this is the most improved defense.
This is
the most improved defense. This is the most improved defense in the league.
It is going to be like Halloween, and you're going to be like, how am I so far behind on these football picks again? And I'm going to point to this, and I'm going to say, go listen back to the NFC West preview where you thought the Cardinals were going to win 10 games.
I almost thought they'd win the division.
Do they have a new quarterback that I don't know about?
It's not going to matter. This is a defensive team again. This is just like Denver. This is a team that's like, all right, our quarterback's fine. He's not great. He's just fine. And as long as we can not make him terrible and our defense is good, we can win a lot of games. And they added a ton of guys this year. Like, you don't think this defense is reloaded, or am I just like only recognizing every single name they added? Like, it seems like an all-star team from like a couple years ago, but that's not terrible. They still have Marvin Harrison Jr. I thought Trey McBride was one of the best tight ends last year. Those guys could be better this year. And if Murray doesn't have to be better, but if everything else around all this and James Connors is fine, I think it just adds up. And yes, I'm falling for the same formula that everyone else has every other year of this. And then by week 4, I will bow down to you and say, yeah, you're right. This wasn't the year. Well, one of these years, it will be the year. And I'm thinking this one is it, because I'm not really into the Rams. I think they're the big phony. I don't love anything about it. I think they're similar to the Chiefs last year, where it was a massive overachievement of what they did last year. They should be congratulated and celebrated for it, but I don't think any of that momentum from last year is good football that adds up into this year. You tell me Devontae Adams is the guy you're all in on? Like, you're not in on that.
Yes. Well, all in might be a little strong, but he is my fantasy guy. Said it 27 is underrated, because I think Matthew Stafford, I actually just before this podcast saw something about he was in street clothes today, which I don't love that, but I don't have all the information on that. But assuming that he's good to go. You're thinking of Devontae Adams from last year and dealing with like the whole Jet situation, where he's getting, a little bit older, but I think he's still got a bunch left in the tank. And so to be with somebody like Matthew Stafford who's going to throw it up to him and have a competent offense, I think that right now everyone just in their head has him from last year and just like, ooh, I don't know. I think this guy, might be done. But I'm thinking he's going to have a revival here.
So you think Devontae Adams is like significantly big improvement on Cooper Kupp leaving? Because they still have Puka Nacua. I imagine he's still going to be the true number one. And Kupp really struggled last year. There may be some injuries, maybe some age of all that, but I just feel like I saw a struggling year out of Devontae Adams last year. I saw a struggling year out of Cooper Kupp. I don't see what's going to be different about this. I think you're going to get some ups and some downs, and it's not going to be as glorious as you think. I think it's going to be exciting for a few games and frustrating for a lot of them.
For sure. They're not an elite team, but it's not going to be nearly as frustrating as watching tiny Kyler Murray run around and it's a bunch of fun, and then throw the ball directly to a defender like he did in that preseason game.
I didn't even I wish I wrote down all the names that they added on defense this year. Could you look that up? Find out how many Cardinals defensive players have like rings or previous success of these other teams. Like, that's just a whole bunch of names. I'm not in on the Rams though. I don't love Kyron Williams. Them giving him the money too. Not saying that's like a bad trend. I kind of liked it when he was a little hungrier possibly before, but it just seems like they're always just piecing everything together in the Rams, and that McVay has so much pressure to have to outsmart the other team, and they used to have the players to do that, and I don't know if they have them this year, and I don't know if they had them last year. It just seems like they don't have enough talent compared to a team like the Arizona Cardinals. I think have a really, really good roster.
This is going to get clipped for next year's, end of the year or end of like the sports year. And you saying that, I think that's going to be an all-timer.
I hope so. I hope so. It's fine. I can handle the embarrassment at this point. I've been playing fantasy for quite a long time. I'm used to it. These ideas that you know everything about football just because you watch all the games, it doesn't mean anything. If anything, I'm probably better off not studying nearly as hard or analyzing anything on all of this. I try not to do as much research early too, because it changes. Like, this is another reason why you can't be interested in preseason. It's like, well, if you're getting fantasy advice from preseason thinking you're going to steal something out of all this, it's just not going to happen. Everybody's watching and they already know, and you can wait 4 weeks without watching it and get all the same notes.
You just said you weren't watching. I'm getting different information than you are.
Yeah, sure. But at the end of the 4 weeks, all the information you have will be posted somewhere else, and I'll just read that. I don't need to watch the game for it. Be like, oh, Genty had a breakout game. Great. Who could have saw that coming? All right, so I have the Rams 3. I assume you have the Cardinals much, much farther down, but we'll get to that. Let's.
I just have them at 3.
You do have them at 3. All right, so there's a little bit of reasonable. So they're not the least talented team here.
No, because teeny tiny Kyler Murray will run around and he'll throw it up, and Marvin Harrison Jr. will come down with some balls, and apparently they have this tremendous defense, but 10 is too many.
Over under 8.5. You had the under.
I have the under, yeah.
And then for the Rams, over under 9.5. I have the under.
I have the under as well.
I have a 9 and 8. So again, just not going to break that
just
over.
Under. Yeah.
All right, on to the last team here. Unfortunately, the Seattle Seahawks. I don't feel as bad for them, and I don't think they should feel as deprived in this division either. But I still think they made some decent moves, and I still think they'll be a decent team. They're just, again, not in the league, I think, of the other three teams here. But this wasn't the worst team last year, and the choice of this offseason to kind of switch things up is, I don't know, do you think they're better than they were last year?
It really matters on what Sam Darnold shows up. Is the Sam Darnold that was playing during the regular season, or is it that playoff one that just fell apart? So I think throughout the regular season, we were watching and, we were talking about the Chiefs and, they had fluky games, but Darnold, it seemed like it was a fluke. Like we've never seen this before. He's had multiple opportunities and this is kind of out of nowhere. So just a matter of, is he able to kind of pick up the pieces and say, hey, no, I'm a good quarterback. I had one bad game. I'm going to get back on track. Or is it, I was exposed. I don't have Justin Jefferson to throw it to anymore, and now I'm in trouble.
I don't think their O-line is very good, and I don't think that has a good Sam Darnold pattern. I think earlier in the year I said I really prefer Geno Smith over Sam Darnold. Is that what I played? I can't remember. I went hard on one of these and not so hard excited about the other quarterback. But I think this is just a lateral move either way, where it's really not that much better or that much worse either way. And I think they need like a lot better than both of these guys to really compete in this division. Did you have them over under 7.5?
Under.
Yeah, I had the under as well. Do you think I get 7 wins?
Brought in Cooper Kupp, lost to Metcalf, so kind of a switcheroo of the wide receivers. But I think the Cooper Kupp is a little bit injuries, but also part of that being when you're older, you get more injuries, and he's 32, so he's not crazy old. Same age as Devontae Adams, but I think that it's just it was showing the beginning of the end. It's not gonna go back to the prime. He's on the other side.
Fantasy wise for Seattle Seahawks, I like Kenneth Walker. I think he's getting decent value where he's going to. This isn't the most exciting offense. Jackson Smith and Jigba is another. I've had him in the past.
That's the one I had. That's what I said. Underrated. I think Darnold, had Justin Jefferson, and Jackson's not Justin Jefferson, but he's a legit wide receiver. And I don't know how many other options that there's going to be based on my expectations for Cooper Kupp. So it might just be this seems like Jackson has 2 points going into the fourth, and then it is just garbage time, and all of a sudden you look up and it's like, oh sweet, now I have 20 points.
Yeah, it's hard. There'll be some decent workload on these teams, but fantasy wise, it's like how are all these teams going to score? It's like not everyone's going to score. I feel like I'm worried about every single offense in the league, and unless you have Tom Brady out there, I'm really not relaxed about anything. And there's no Tom Brady's out there, so it's all right. Anything else for the NFC West here?
Nope, all set.
Well, speaking of Brady, there was a statue unveiling and a speech and another speech and more talking of stuff that happened. How long ago? Was it like last year? 2 years? Oh, it's been that long. All right. Well, I'm excited for the statue. It just more feels like we were desperate to celebrate some really old success. And I'm really excited for this year. I think we're taking a big step in the direction, but we aren't taking Brady steps, and that's hard. That's hard. I think that was more of a reminder of how things used to be. And even though we're in a better situation, we are very far from the golden age that we once were in. Thoughts on the statue, though? What'd you think it looked like?
I thought the statue looked great. It was big. I thought it looked good. I feel like recently we've had statue unveilings, and you look and you go, who is that supposed to be? It's like looks like Brady. Thought it was cool that there gave the speech. When the news came out like a week or two ago, I think I was a little surprised that it was during a preseason game. I don't know if it's because Brady has his Raider owner duties or his announcer duties. So maybe it was, hey, like I can only do a preseason game, where it just seems like unveiling a statue seems like it should have been for some sort of premier game. But yeah, I think I'm just nitpicking a little bit there. But overall, big fan of the statue. Like the joke about not just for Patriots fans, it's for the Jets fans to have something to throw at when they leave the stadium, probably in the second quarter. Which, like you mentioned, we have not had that sort of swagger in quite some time. But when he mentioned it, it just like brought me right back to having that swagger. So hopefully, we can have a good season
With the statue. I think it's the pose I think where we screw this up, I mean, the Allen Iverson one, for one, the scale is just terrible. Like it's like a miniature version of everything. It's like he's an action figure in a box. It doesn't work.
Yeah, it's like if you're gonna make a statue, why would you make it smaller?
But the pose that Brady's kind of got going, hands up, is I think easier to look like him too. Like I can see the silhouette of it all, and it's hard to do that with if you just do like the shoulder and head, which I think we see with some really really rough statues. I don't need to reference any of them. You can look them up. Pretty much all of them look bad, but I think if you go with the full body, full scale, is your best bet of at least looking like the silhouette of the person, and then we can ignore the face almost every single time. It's just hard to do a statue of a face. It's not going to move. It's one pose too. It's either the pose you imagine him having or it's not, and I think that's hard to overcome in a statue. But I like the pose. Is there a statue you think is actually like the worst one? Like the Wade one wasn't great. I thought the Wade one was hard.
The Wade one wasn't great. I mean, you mentioned the Allen Iverson one, which when they unveiled it, it was like, what? But then you find out, oh, in Philly, just all of the statues they do are all like whatever that scale is of, they're just smaller, which like, again, just doesn't make any sense.
Looks like a Like Mike character than a, Hall of Famer. All right, let's talk a little actual Patriots.
It should be something that you're embarrassed about. You would think it would be easier to do that.
I mean, it's not going away. That's why you got to get it right. Like,
gotta get it right.
Just have it there and be like that forever. Like the people are going there to pose for different reasons now. They look terrible. Like they're not there to see like, oh, this is great art. This is nice and super support. It's like, no, look how terrible this is. This looks nothing like Dwayne Wade. Not fun. All right, but I want to have a little bit of fun here. I'm out on the preseason, but I told you I'd do a little Patriot Minute. Will Campbell, I've been seeing some blocking highlights where he's just not giving up. The whistle's happening, and he's still like charging the guy into the crowd. How excited are you for this guy?
I have not been watching the lineman highlights, but all right, that's good. He was our top pick, and he said he was willing to die for Drake May. So good to see that he's following up with that. I saw there was a big fight in practice where Vrabel had to get involved and break it up, and came up bleeding. So tough guy right there. Okay, I think that's a check in the right box. But I think the most exciting part was Trayvon Henderson just returning the first kick, as well as then it's preseason. Against preseason, but we just destroyed the Commanders. I mean, even a preseason game to put up almost 50 points, it just, again, doesn't matter. Doesn't end up in the record books and the score at all. But even for something that doesn't really matter, it's just nice to win. It's way more fun than losing.
It's hard to trust anything at all. But more thing I took away was just the effort of Will Campbell more than the effectiveness. Like he's going to be playing better guys week one. So like, I'm not saying he's going to be bullying every single person, but if he's going to be the people he is able to bully, if he's going to be just rushing them into the sideline and pushing them into the ground, that's going to be great. That's going to be fun stuff for us. It's not the exciting highlights of a quarterback, but I'm trying to be very supportive of this draft pick is really what I'm trying to do. So I'm getting behind it now.
I like it.
All right, let's move on to a little NBA. The Christmas games were on, or the Christmas games were released. The schedule should come out. Is it already out? There should be more games coming out soon.
The full schedule, I think they did the tease that it might be announced this week when it'll be announced. So when it comes out, it'll come out.
But the games were noted, and this is similar to the Brady statue, where this is kind of a reminder of where the Celtics statue is kind of at the moment, where we are not playing on Christmas. And I'm not surprised or upset that we're not. I'm just more of where we're currently at is a bit of a bummer. And yeah, what are your thoughts on the games?
It's more the concreteness of it. Of the season ended disappointingly. The Tatum stuff as well, and so you're just kind of focused on that. And now we're getting away from last season towards the upcoming season, and then you're just like reminded of we're not playing the premier games, and you again it's like, oh well, yep, that makes sense. We're missing a all NBA guy, okay, but just it's right there in front of your face, and you can't avoid it.
I got an Anthony Simons take.
Oh boy,
we need to really stop aggregating that we want to trade him because it's not helping his trade value. If I got to see Celtics blog X every morning with the Simons proposal blank from other teams or possible, just just have a different goal this year. All right. Let's just say maybe he can lead the league in threes. All right. Let's have a different goal than like the countdown until we get to trade him, because that's not going to increase his value. What's going to increase his value is he plays well, even on a losing team. Let's root for that. All right. I don't want to just shop this guy the entire year. Can we get on board with that too?
I don't think that that's going to happen. I think that it's just a matter of time before he gets traded. Nothing to do with his actual ability. It's just we seem hell bent on getting as low cost as possible, where we turned Porzingis into a two-way guy. Just trade to get that money down. And I think that it's going to be similar with you start with Drew Holiday, and then we're just going to trickle down until that is just like, oh, well, look at this. Now we're under the luxury cap for next year. And I think that it's all business. It's all money related. It has nothing to do with Simon's ability, but I don't think he lasts the season on the team.
Do you think he'll suit up at all?
I think he might.
I think he has to. I think if he was going to get moved, we would have done it by now. And now if we want to get the most out of him, I think we got to show what he is. Unless we're worried about that, then I would.
Do you think? I mean, we just traded Niang, not that long ago.
Well, the Niang thing, I think, had to do that we were able to sign Boucher from Toronto, which was an upgrade. All right, I will admit that. I was a Niang fan. I had the banner over here. I was swinging the flag. I get it. But, Boucher is a better center. And Niang might be a better player, but we need a center. We don't need a better player. We need a cheaper player that can play center. And I think Boucher checks all those boxes. Yeah, he'll shoot a three. He's not scared. I don't know if I love it, but at least he'll shoot a three. We didn't get entire.
A third of the price is Luke Cornett.
Yeah. No, I'm okay with it. I
has like all of the records in Toronto, for what that's worth.
Again, if you were to say we need to be on a budget center, I think Niang and Boucher is about what you're dealing with, and that's what we got.
Budget centers, yeah. That's what I say. This is all that. That's why I think it's not about Simon's ability. I think it's going to be the contract, and it's just going to work. I don't know if it'll be to one more guy or if there's going to be two more trades, but all of a sudden you're going to look up and it's going to be like we traded or if we figured out how to get Drew Holiday and Porzingis into basically no players, but it's like ingenious that Brad was able to do it to get off so much money.
But we're not low enough already. Like, we got to move on from Simons too. And also, what are we getting back for Simons? It has to be such a cut cost. At some point, we have to build something here. And I thought he was a little bit of a building block. Like, you want nothing back?
I don't really know, for sure. Like, these rules are relatively new, but I think it's if we do like a swap with Simons for just somebody else cheap, and we get under the luxury tax, then all of these options open up where then next year we're able to sign more guys and we're able to go back up. I don't know if it'll be into like the second apron, but it's like we have to like get down so low that we can like build up in the future.
I guess I just want to put it out in the universe that we're keeping him. You can't have him, and maybe we'll get a reasonable offer for him. And everyone else is like, no, it's just a matter of time. Like, he's, he might not even suit up for us. His name is just taped on the locker. It's not even engraved. Like, it's temporary. I don't want to treat him like that. We're not going to get anything for him. And I know it seems like we're just getting rid of him for budget cuts, but I think he's a little bit better of a player than that, where if he has like a decent year for us, we could get actual value of him. Or, crazy thing, we could keep him. I don't know. Wild idea. What if we're good? Like, what if him and Brown is just like awesome threes, and him and this Brad Stevens, Missoula 3-ball kind of thing, and he's just chucking it up out there. Like, we might not win games, but he might play well. Like, we're not even willing to entertain any of that. Like, we're just shopping him for just to cut the cost. I don't know if that's the best way to get the best value.
That's what I think is happening. That's what I feel like, because it seems like if the idea was to keep the most competitive team possible this year, then we wouldn't have traded Porzingis and we wouldn't have traded Drew Holiday.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're demoing the house a little too much. It's like, no, we need to keep the studs, right? It's like, no, take it down to the foundation. We're redoing that too. It's like, what do we have to do? We're just going to put new studs up again. They're going to go the same place where the other studs were. Like, we're not rebuilding the house any differently. We need to build off of something at some point. But all right, I understand the goal.
To pivot, this is a little longer than the Celtics minute that you wanted to do, but I'm going to blame you. This is not me going too long, but Tatum and Missoula in Providence doing some charity work, and Tatum walking around with no boot on. So There's no real update, no anything for real. But it is nice to see him out of the boot, see him out and about amongst people, doing charity work. Always good.
So if he does come back, just pick a day. Let's say he's back for the playoffs, and we trade Simons at the trade deadline because things aren't going well, and we get nothing back. We just save a bunch of money. And then Tatum miraculously is ready to come back. Are you going to wish we had Simons?
Probably, because even looking at the team with Simons now, we've talked about this, like, who's going to start? And you look a little deeper, it's like, oh man, like there's not much depth here.
Yeah. I wouldn't be shopping him as crazy as everyone is.
I'm hearing way too much about ifs about Luka Garza. Well, if Luka Garza give a little bit of an effort, it's like, all right, Luka Garza has been in the league for a while. National Player of the Year in college. He's big body, but this is like the guy at the end of the bench on, a competitive team. And yeah, maybe, a guy's resting and, he's the backup for the night and, gives you a little something. But if he is any sort of like part of your rotation, it would be awesome. It would be awesome if, could contribute. But I just do not like how much I'm hearing like, if Luka could do this, it's like, if you're banking on that, we're in trouble.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm as excited to see his value go up or down this year. If we had to move him, I'd move him before I got to see it, not after. There's still potential there will be good games though. I'm not saying there aren't going to be that. There's a lot of bad teams in the NBA that we will still be better than. It's just the good teams are, I think, going to humiliate us pretty consistently.
I wonder, like, how is Missoula going to handle not having an elite team?
Well, I think he's going to be the cold motherfucker that he's always been, and the players are either going to snap and give up or do some like movie Hoosier thing where they miraculously turn around as a team or something. Like, I don't know. Maybe it'll work. We're going to find out if that works for this situation, or maybe he's just more of a polished finishing coach. They're not all rebuilding coaches. I'd like to think him being so young that he kind of has to be a rebuilding guy. You don't get to just walk in with the perfect roster, but he kind of did, and he had some success with it. So I don't know. I guess we'll find out. What do you think we're going to get out of him?
I mean, I really don't know, because this is just like a completely different team. It's a completely different like expectations, and like the joke about Missoula ball. It's like shoot a lot of threes. It's like, yep, the math says to do that, and that works when you have at every position good to elite 3-point shooters. But now we don't have that anymore. So is he able to pivot and kind of change the offense, or are we still going to be going out there and taking, record-setting amount of threes, but when you're not hitting them at a very good clip, you just have a lot of those really bad nights. So where it's just, Celtics set record for missed 3-pointers.
I understand your concern. Where last year and this year, if we take the same threes we did last year with worse shooters, and it didn't work last year, what do you think is going to happen this year? Like, I understand that all adds up as like, yeah, if we run the same offense with worse shooters, even though it didn't even work the year before with better shooters, that just seems dumb. Like, there has to be something more than all this, but I don't know what you're going to pull out of this offense. Like, it's the Jaylen Brown show, especially if you move on from Simons here.
Yeah, I joked, I didn't mention by name, but the two-way guy that we did get for Niang, RJ Lewis Jr. Do you know anything about him?
Yeah, he's the guy that got benched with.
Yeah, yep. St. John's. Yeah, so he was the best player on St. John's all year long, and then down the stretch of that game got benched, then ends up going undrafted. So he was junior, so he's a little bit older, and I just wonder how much of the evaluation was because of that benching, or what the story was behind that, where if you erase that game, where it's not even I don't even think it's like even hyperbole, to say like, oh yeah, he was for sure he was the best guy on that St. John's team throughout the year.
So you think this is like a good addition? I mean, it's we cut money and we got another guy.
I'm trying to talk myself into stuff. I mean, he's on a 2-way deal. He was undrafted, but just if you're gonna pick a guy, I guess it's a little more fun to have somebody from St. John's that I've heard of rather than like European guy X who like I've never heard of, and there's at least like, okay, I have a little bit of backstory on this guy.
Maybe. I just if you think that guy's gonna get run on our team, it's gonna be a rough year. Like you think he's gonna be in the rotation? Like,
Not this year.
yeah, I
Not
don't.
this year. If you're on a 2-way deal, no.
Oh man! All right, let's wrap everything up with the streaming world update. You wrote down like 7 different things here. What's kind of
A lot
caught
of
your
stuff happened today.
What's kind of caught your attention in the streaming world, sports streaming world more specifically?
Came out in the past week that ESPN is launching its direct-to-consumer streaming service. We talked about it a little bit. It's going to have all of the ESPN content, but I don't know if that means ESPN and ESPN Plus. Saying it's going to be $29.99. August 21st is like a week and a half away, and I feel like I am one of like the prime people that they want to purchase this service, and I feel like I just don't have like enough information on this.
All right, here it is. You know the channels you get on cable, the ESPN channels.
Yes,
That's what you're getting in all of this. I don't think you get ESPN Plus. I do imagine it will be bundled, and I don't know when. It'll probably go up for $5 next year, and then it'll include ESPN Plus. So I don't know. It'll be the same as if you just paid for it anyways. But to my understanding, I don't think it's going to be ESPN Plus related. But it'll be the first time for $30 that you will be able to get just the ESPN channel. Before, if you wanted to get ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN News, you had to get it through a bundle, essentially, through cable or even YouTube TV. It's not like you go to YouTube TV, just spend $30 and say, I just want ESPN. Nothing like that offers. Now, the weird part about it is that you're only getting ESPN. And then the other weird part is that they're now doing a partnership with Fox to kind of do those two, but then you're not getting CBS or NBC. So, like, it's weird because I'm happy to have everything kind of a la carte, but I don't know who's really going to be taking advantage of this. I mean, do you think you can get away with just watching ESPN now? Like, this isn't like essential content anymore. It's mostly you just need it for games, but there's a lot of games elsewhere.
At the same time, Disney also announced that they will be phasing out the Hulu app. So not the Hulu content. It's just you won't go to Hulu anymore. You'll go to Disney Plus. Now, the ESPN app I haven't used for watching in a long time, but that was bad. That one was one of the worst. Really struggled. ESPN Plus, also, that one struggled. Disney Plus, most of the time, okay. I got some more niche things I have concerns with, where Hulu was like my go-to. And it's going to be interesting now as they're phasing that out, and where this new ESPN streaming service, you could watch it through Disney Plus. So it's like you have to figure out where you're going to purchase it from, then how are you going to bundle it? Because right now I'm in a bundle of ESPN Plus, Hulu, and Disney Plus. Well, now if Hulu's going away, I'm sure I don't save money on that. But now there's the Fox bundle, and it just I think there's even is it the Hulu and HBO Max bundle? But it's like I can't like bundle all of the bundles. So it also then goes to, you mentioned this is cool, the a la carte option. I think this is long overdue, but it's almost like it's too late now. And now my concern is, how can I get this as much of the stuff, like all the stuff in the same app? So I don't have to have multiple apps, even if I'm paying for multiple apps, just to make it easier to switch. All right, I'm watching, football, and now I want to switch over to basketball. Is it gonna be like a whole thing, or is it all like contained within one app?
Nothing's ever going to be contained in one app. YouTube TV is the closest you're going to get, and I don't know how long that's going to last. One thing you will get through the ESPN service for that $30 as well would be Red Zone and NFL Network as well, and that'll be the rebooted ESPN version of that. I don't imagine
something interesting that I saw in the past week, specifically about Red Zone, because we talked about that last week, was not so much any changes to the current Red Zone, but saying like they have the option for the name and using it for college, using it for, basketball, which I think is much more complicated, much more difficult. I would think, I mean, they definitely had it in the past. And so I don't know if Red Zone, like that style, if it said, hey, you can't do the same style, like NFL owns this, you can't do this. But I would think, but it would be cool if they, expanded the property and you have NBA red zone, and you have college football red zone for other options.
I don't know the rules on, do they have enough ESPN games that they own to do a red zone? Like the NFL's got all the games. They have all the teams. If there's another game for the NBA on TNT, or I guess it'll be NBC this year, that's not going to be. I don't know if they can put that in the red zone on ESPN. Otherwise, it's like, well, why do I need NBC anymore if they're showing me on ESPN? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know the rules on that.
Well, that's where I think that ESPN, at least for basketball, I don't know for sure with football, but like for basketball, they have a ton of stuff on ESPN Plus, and there's so many college basketball games. So are people going to be interested in those ESPN Plus games? I don't know, but if you're able to watch just a ton of games, at once, maybe get more interested in it. It's tough with basketball. With football, it's so much easier. It's right in the name, red zone. They're getting close. Where with basketball, like, all right, how do you decide which game to go to when it's earlier on? It's so quick back and forth. So I think it's just going to take someone smart to figure out, hey, what's the best way that this works?
Yeah, I don't have an answer. I'm sure there's an algorithm that can do the math on. Well, everyone wants to see this sort of highlight every so often, and then we got to show it from some game somewhere that highlight happens. But it's very nice in the NFL. It just works out well. All the games start at the same time. I don't know if they're ever going to do that as fluently in the other games, especially with the, you got like
that
the 1 o'clock
happens.
and the 4 o'clock. I guess you kind of do get that, but I
mean, that pretty much happens with like college football. It's like noon, 3:30, like 7:10.
College,
it's not exactly that. It's not exactly coordinated with like NFL is, but it's at least like there are different windows, and it's pretty uniform.
But it is an exciting thing, though, that all the games are ending at the same time, and we're showing, multiple endings and all this. I feel like the other sports it's almost staggered, which probably is a better way to watch, but it's not nearly as the red zone excitement of like it's you got 7 different things going on at once, and you got to know all of them. Like I don't know. It's a little bit more like the college basketball where they're staggered. And it's like, wow, that was a fun, crazy ending. Let's just skip to the next game. Oh my God, it's going to be another one file crazy ending. Like that's cool, but that's not red zone. Like I still think that's different. Like they're not happening exactly the same time. But I don't know, the Scott Hansen thing is he's good too. And I don't want them to move on from him. And I feel bad for whoever tries to take over that or does something else different in another sport with it, because it's just not going to be easy. And it's going to be compared to this that has worked so well.
That's where I wonder if college or if NFL has that limited amount of games, so having a narrator is helpful, and you can bounce back and forth, and you have time for that. I'm wondering if for these other products, like, do you even have to have a narrator, somebody in between, or does it just they just let you know, or they just trust you? Hey, you're a sports fan. You can understand. The game comes on. You look. You see. Okay, the red team has the ball. This is how much time's left. This is the score. I don't need someone to spoon feed me this. Like I'm a basketball fan. I know how this works.
I would love to be able to turn off the announcers and just listen to the crowd. Like just have the announcer mics turn off, and we're just watching the game the same way. Have everything else cut the same breaks. Maybe the breaks you gotta like pipe them back in. I don't know. You could pump the ads into us if you have to. I get it. But like if I could just mute everybody but still get the game audio of the crowd and the whistle and all that, that would be awesome. It would feel a little bit more like I was at the game and not watching someone else tell me what's happening in the game. But I don't know when they're going to get those options. But those are the sort of things that they're going to have to create to attract people to this ESPN platform, because it's not like ESPN is suddenly not going to be available on YouTube or cable or any of the other thousands of places that they already are. So this is just an alternative package that strongly benefits a service that is not getting used the same way it used to. Like they're just not getting the same views. It's like daytime ESPN. It's like that's going to be included in all of this, and I don't know who's using it for that. Can't wait to get on my ESPN app to watch SportsCenter every night. Like I don't know who's doing that. I don't think that's the selling point.
Not
anymore.
A lot of people, and not nearly as many people that used to do that. So it makes sense that they had to evolve. It just kind of surprised it took so long.
This kind of has to work for them too, especially with the NFL partnership. I don't see it struggling. Like if this just turns into basically the way to get red zone eventually, that's going to be enough for them to survive on. It's just I don't know how much of their own ESPN stuff
sure.
is really a safe bet. I don't know. All right, anything else on the streaming world you want to get out of here?
Just the last thing that came out earlier today is Paramount Plus and UFC came up with a 7-year $1 billion plus deal what is interesting about it is that they will no longer be using the pay-per-view model. If you have Paramount Plus, you'll be able to watch all of the big fights.
Okay. No, that's good. It is like, how annoying was it for ESPN Plus? It was like, all right, I already pay for the ESPN Plus, and then I packaged it with something else because I needed it, and then the pay-per-view night comes up, and it's like, it's still additional money. Like, I understand how pay-per-view works, but why did I need the subscription to get in to buy the pay-per-view? Like, that seems like you stole my money, like that. This seems a little bit more fair. You can watch the new season of Dexter. I'll plug that right now. That's still great. I have no idea where Paramount's getting all this money from, though. That's a lot of money for UFC. I think UFC is a safe bet, though.
The new merger, Skydance money.
I think that's a safe bet on a sport, though. I think they still do numbers. I think people are still paying for that pay-per-view. I think, if anything, they're going to be like, we could have charged and probably will still eventually charge additionally for this. But for now, if you want more people to sign up for the streaming service, I think you just signed up a bunch of people just overnight. People watch UFC fights.
It's almost like each sport is like going to a different streaming service, where it's like Paramount Plus has got UFC, which I guess it's still kind of CBS because there's going to be some stuff that'll be there, but like ESPN is getting even cozier with the with the NFL. Definitely have Amazon starting to cozy up with basketball, and just kind of trying to figure it out exactly on how this is going to all work in the future.
It's a lot of movement. I feel like we're all shifting into a different direction, and it's at some point it's going to get really confusing, or is it already confusing, Zach? Do you know where everything is ever?
It's not hard to find.
I do feel like it's not hard for us to find, and I've kind of gotten used to playing the game. I do think did you see this click to cancel thing is like that's a huge change in canceling these streaming services. 'Cause before, it's like you force me into this app on my phone, and yet the only way I can cancel is if I go into like the browser on like either computer or like desktop mode on my phone. That's crazy. Like, I had to figure that out. I don't know how anyone else, any more technically challenged, would figure that out. This click to cancel thing might be a big axe to a lot of ignored subscriptions that have just been ongoing after another that they're just banking on. What do you think of that?
I think that'll be helpful and might have people kind of really figuring out exactly okay, I have Paramount Plus for these months, I have ESPN for these months, and really just figuring out when you start and when you end these different services.
Did you hear about the end of the era for HBO Max now? That they are going to be cracking down on the passwords all now. That's their new thing. They're going to be doing that. That's going to be happening this week. Do you remember when HBO was like, we just want as many eyes on our content as much as possible? They basically endorsed you sharing their password 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
I thought that was Netflix that did that, but I agree that everybody's definitely cracking down on the password sharing.
I get it. They need the money. Nobody's actually paying for all these. They're canceling, and I don't know. But we'll have more news next week, and remind everyone to subscribe. Little column A, little column B. Follow us on our Twitter. You can follow us on our YouTube, and subscribe on our Spotify page. You can also follow Zach on his X account, which is
Wicked Z-Man 24.
All right, anything else for the people, Zach? You got 10 seconds.
Go Seas.
Go Seas. All right.
Little column A, little column B.